This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Tune in Tuesday, November 8th for our 3-hour election night special. We'll be broadcasting live starting at 9 p.m. Eastern. Visit democracynow.org for details and to watch. Voters in 5 states will be deciding abortion-related ballot initiatives Tuesday. In Kentucky, voters are being asked to amend the state's constitution to declare that there is no constitutional right to abortion in the state. Reproductive rights activists are urging voters to vote no on Amendment 2. Meanwhile, in Michigan, voters will decide on a proposed amendment to add the right to reproductive freedom to the state's constitution. Voters in Vermont and California will also be asked to enshrine abortion rights in their state constitutions. To talk more about these ballot initiatives and more, we're joined by Melody Fields Figueredo. She is the Executive Director of the Ballot Initiative Strategy Center in Washington, D.C. Chris, thanks for joining us. Let's start with abortion, then we'll move on to voting rights, gun control, etc. What's happening with abortion, and where are these ballot initiatives being voted on?
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show, Amy. Yes, abortion is absolutely on the ballot. You already mentioned Michigan. Reproductive freedom for all, Proposal 3, would enshrine the right to an abortion in the state constitution, but it also looks at pre and postnatal care, the right to contraceptives. We also have Vermont that is affirmatively protecting and guaranteeing the right to an abortion in its state constitution, and California as well. And then, as you mentioned, in Kentucky, there's a proposal similar to what we saw in Kansas that would ban abortion. And then in Montana, we have a proposal that would further criminalize and stigmatize abortion as well. So abortion is on the ballot. And I think one of the really important things to remember going into tomorrow is what happened in Kansas, right? We can't make assumptions just because the state is more traditionally conservative, right? Kansas really bucked that theory, right? That not only did that ballot measure overwhelmingly reject an abortion ban, it really transcended party lines, and it was a higher vote getter than the Democratic and Republican gubernatorial candidates.
Can you talk about the recreational marijuana ballots around the country, the ballot initiatives?
Well, for years we've been seeing through the ballot initiative process, first with the decriminalizing or making medical marijuana illegal, and now we've seen a number of states in this election. We have Arkansas, Maryland, the Dakotas, both Dakotas, and Missouri that are looking at recreational marijuana. More than half the country now, through the initiative process, has approved some form of either medical or recreational marijuana. And that's before voters in 5 states on Tuesday.
What about ranked choice voting and other voting-related ballot
honestly,
initiatives?
One of the biggest trends that we are seeing this year is democracy itself. On the ballot. States like Nevada are looking at ranked choice voting. Several municipalities, cities across the country are looking at ranked choice voting. Michigan, again, is looking at promote the vote, which would allow for 9 days of early voting, ensure that military and overseas voters have ballots are counted, guaranteeing audits. And Connecticut is also looking at early voting as well. And then we also have direct democracy.
Let me just ask something on ranked choice voting, since I think a number of people do not understand what it is. For example, it's one of the reasons I think that Sarah Palin lost in Alaska, because Alaska has ranked choice voting. Explain how it works.
Yeah, so ranked choice voting is, goes away from what we traditionally know, right? 50 plus 1% of the vote. You vote for one person, and that's it. With ranked choice voting, voters have more choices, right? So you literally will rank your top candidate, your second candidate, third candidate, and so on. After those votes are counted, then it looks at the second candidate, right, of who got the most votes. So it's a system that looks a lot more about the majority of the people and who is popular for them, and that person will win the election.
And let me ask you about slavery. on the ballot in 5 states. Explain, Chris.
Yeah, well, it's 2022, and yes, slavery is still in state constitutions and the U.S. Constitution, with the exception of slavery as a form of punishment. That is on the ballot in Alabama, Louisiana, Tennessee, Oregon, and Vermont. And why this issue is so important is this exception, if everyone remembers Ava DuVernay's amazing documentary on 13th, right? It has led to mass incarceration of Black and brown communities. It's led to overcriminalization of these communities, and it has also had a huge impact on the prison labor population, and whether folks who are working in prison, whether they have the ability to get paid.
And finally, other examples that you think are key that transcend party lines across this country.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest issues for now since 2016 that has been really popular is raising the minimum wage. That has transcended party lines. It's on the ballot in Nevada, raising the minimum wage to $15 per hour, in Nevada, raising it to $12 per hour. In D.C., where I live, we have the opportunity again to remove the subminimum wage for tip workers, right? Other issues like in-state tuition for undocumented students is on the ballot in Arizona. Gun safety is on the ballot in Oregon. So many of these issues that we know in our communities are incredibly important are on the ballot this year, and they transcend party lines, right? It's something that we've been seeing for the last several years, and why we believe that now there's a direct attack on direct democracy itself to limit the will of the people and our ability to bring these issues before our communities and vote for them.